I want you to picture a specific kind of person.
Oh, we all know one.
Right. Maybe it's a colleague, maybe it's a friend, or, uh, and be honest with yourself here, it's you.
Mm-hmm.
This is the person who walks into a room and, well, they act less like a human being and more like a high-powered radar system.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
They aren't looking at the furniture, they're scanning for signals. They pick up on things that you and I or everyone else just completely ignores. And they usually act on a hunch before their logical brain has even had time to, tie its shoes.
It's a very distinct, almost vibrating kind of energy. It's that feeling of being constantly pulled forward by curiosity, almost like a magnetic force is just dragging you toward the next new thing.
Exactly. It's the person who interrupts a perfectly good, structured meeting because they just had this flash of insight that connects two completely unrelated things, like ancient Roman architecture and modern app design.
Right, the connections nobody else sees.
Yeah. Well, today we are doing a deep dive into exactly that kind of mind. We are decoding the complete personality traits of the FFFN profile.
Which goes by a much cooler name, honestly.
It does. The Idea Hunter.
The Idea Hunter.
Yeah.
It really is the perfect title for this. And just to give credit where it's due from our source material today, what we're unpacking comes from the Max Energy ME80 personality system.
Right. And before we get too deep into the layers here, give us just the quick elevator pitch on what the ME80 system actually is. Because, you look online and there are a million personality tests out there.
Sure. So, unlike tests that just slap a label on you and say you're introverted or you're nice, the Max Energy system looks at energy mechanics.
Mechanics. Okay.
Yeah, it analyzes how you process information, how you make decisions, and, crucially, how your energy flows or gets blocked when you interact with the world around you.
So it's less about labels and more about your internal operating system.
Exactly that.
Okay, so we're looking at the operating system of the Idea Hunter today, and we've got a massive stack of notes to get through from the report. We're going to break down their core identity, look at this complex energy matrix that powers them,
And the shadow blind spots.
Yes. The part I'm really interested in, we're going to talk about why they're absolutely brilliant at starting things, but let's be charitable and say challenged when it comes to finishing them.
We will definitely get to that. It's a very real struggle for them. But we really have to start with the core identity. Who is the Idea Hunter?
Let's pull the core declaration right from the source. It defines the Idea Hunter as someone who is, quote, hunting ideas with restless curiosity, catching breakthrough sparks where signals cluster in the noise.
It sounds intense because it is intense. Technically speaking, in the ME80 framework, this is a high perception personality type.
High perception.
Right. Their absolute superpower is using curiosity as a triggering mechanism.
A triggering mechanism. See, that sounds almost like a weapon.
In a way, it is. It's a weapon against stagnation. Most people wait for a plan, or they wait for a spreadsheet to tell them what to do. The Idea Hunter waits for a spark. They are driven by what the system calls emotional momentum.
Hold on, let's pause there for a second. Emotional momentum. If I'm running a business, do I want someone acting on emotion rather than data?
I hear that a lot, but that's the common misconception.
Okay.
In the ME80 context, emotional momentum doesn't mean they are throwing tantrums or being irrational. It means their response to the world happens before they have logically organized the information. They feel the pattern before they can explain the pattern to you.
So if I'm an FFFN, I'm not sitting down to analyze the risk-reward ratio first.
Absolutely not. Your inner landscape ignites rapidly. When you see a new perspective or maybe a weird anomaly in a market trend or something that just feels slightly off, you are propelled instantly into action.
You don't think, is this prudent?
Right. You think, what is that? And you just chase it.
So they are the ones in the boardroom saying, look, I don't know why this works yet, but we need to pivot the strategy right now.
Precisely.
But man, that sounds chaotic. If you have a whole team of people doing that, nothing would ever get done. How do they actually control this chaos?
And that brings us to their control mechanism. Because to an outsider, you're right, the Idea Hunter looks incredibly scattered. But internally, they operate with a global view.
The source material calls it directionality.
Directionality, yes.
Oh, wow.
Imagine you walk into a room filled with scattered puzzle pieces from 10 completely different puzzles.
Sounds like a nightmare.
For most of us, yeah.
Yeah.
A standard, structurally minded person would try to sort them by color, or maybe find all the edge pieces first. They want structure.
Right, they want to clean the room.
But the Idea Hunter walks in, glasses at the pile, and they don't even see the mess. They see a single thread connecting a piece from puzzle A to a piece from puzzle B. They don't organize the pile. They find a path through it.
I really like that image. So they aren't trying to clean up the chaos. They are trying to find the exit. Or the treasure, I guess.
Exactly. They excel at unstalling situations. This is their control philosophy. If a team is stuck because the traditional logic doesn't hold up anymore, the idea hunter finds a new angle of entry.
They leverage the situation back into motion.
Yes. Their control isn't about rigid structure. It's about taking all that scattered stimuli and transforming it into a perceptible direction.
Okay, I'm starting to see the value here. But let's look under the hood. The ME80 system outlines an energy matrix.
This is where it gets really fascinating.
It's a little technical in the report, so let's break it down simply for everyone listening. How does this matrix actually work inside their heads?
So, the energy matrix for the FFFN is characterized by high activation and strong outward expression. This is not a personality that sits quietly on a mountain and contemplates for weeks.
No.
The signal comes in and the action goes out immediately.
The report breaks this down into 4 specific layers: IP, IQ, EQ, and manifestation. Now, I want to go through these carefully because the ME80 system uses these terms, especially IQ and EQ, a little differently than people might expect.
Very differently.
Let's start at the foundational level. Layer 1, IP. The inner value layer.
Right. Think of IP as the raw fuel source. For the idea hunter, this is the energy-driving impulse.
The hunger.
Yes, it's that deep internal itch. Without this, the machine doesn't even start. It's the part of you that wakes up and subconsciously says, I need to find something new today.
Okay, so the engine is running, the fuel is there. Now we move up to layer 2. IQ, the emotional activation layer. And stop right there.
I know what you're going to say.
Usually when people hear IQ, they think of intelligence quotient, right?
Yeah.
Math problems, logic puzzles, IQ tests. That's not what this is.
Correct. And this is crucial to understand if you want to get the idea hunter. In the ME80 energy matrix, IQ represents intuition and rapid judgment. It is not your ability to do calculus. It is the internal filter that says this signal is important without needing an Excel sheet to prove it yet.
So it's a gut check.
It's a very rapid sorting mechanism. It prioritizes interest over proven fact. It's the part of the brain that sees a flashing light and says, go there, while the logical brain is still, unfolding the map.
Got it. So IP provides the gas, and IQ steers the wheel towards something shiny based on pure intuition.
Yes. And then we hit layer 3, EQ, the decision calculation layer.
And again, don't think of this just as emotional intelligence or empathy.
Right. In this matrix, EQ is about emotional expression and release. It's how that internal spark we just talked about gets to translate into something communicable to the outside world.
This is the exact moment where the idea hunter turns to their coworker and says, hey, I have a crazy idea.
Exactly. It's the bridge between the internal flash and the external reality. If this layer is blocked for some reason, they have the idea but can't get it out.
But for the FFFN,
For them, it's usually wide open. They start talking immediately.
which brings us perfectly to layer 4, the manifestation layer.
This is the energy released outward. Impact.
Yeah.
Action. The idea hunter doesn't just sit there and think. They project. And this whole stack.
The IP, IQ, EQ.
Right, from that raw impulse, through the intuition, through the expression, to the manifestation,
Yeah.
it happens incredibly fast for them.
Let's make this real for a second. Let's say our idea hunter walks into a regular coffee shop. Run me through how this matrix fires.
Okay, great example. They walk in. Layer 1, the IP, the hunger, they are naturally looking for stimulation just by existing in that space.
Right.
Then layer 2, the IQ, fires. They notice the barista was using a weird new tool to pour the milk. Their intuition immediately says, wait, that's a trend.
They don't know why, but it's a trend.
Exactly. Then layer 3, EQ, kicks in. They immediately formulate a thought. This specific aesthetic could change how we do our marketing for that new dairy client.
Oh, wow.
And finally, layer 4, manifestation. Before they've even ordered their own latte, they are texting their boss. I have a massive idea for the Q3 campaign.
And that entire sequence all happened in, what, 3 seconds?
3 seconds.
Hmm.
While everyone else in the line is just staring at the menu board.
That speed really seems to be the defining factor here. The report calls this inner trait the curiosity engine.
The curiosity engine, I love that term. The source material defines their absolute essence as having sensitivity to change as their sustained fuel.
Sensitivity to change.
This is the key to understanding them. Some people are fueled by stability, right? Knowing exactly what will happen tomorrow makes them feel secure and energized.
Sure, planners.
But the idea hunter is fueled by the shift. If things are staying the same, the idea hunter is actually running on empty.
They're stalling out.
Completely. Boredom is kryptonite to them. Their internal mechanism is designed to intervene early in periods of change.
They don't wait for certainty.
No, they use questions, rapid comparisons, and exploration instructions.
That really explains why the report says they are so exceptionally efficient in exploratory phases. They can accumulate concepts and materials way faster than other types because they aren't stopping to verify every single detail.
Right.
They're just grabbing what looks useful and moving forward.
They lay the groundwork for future development. They are gathering the raw materials of innovation. But...
there it is. Here comes the but. I knew there was a catch. You can't run an engine that fast without overheating at some point. Let's talk about the shadow blind spot. The report calls it activation overload.
this is the trap, and it's a direct result of their superpower. Because their ability to activate new ideas far exceeds their ability to filter them. That's the consequence of activation overload. Resources get scattered, focus blurs. And the truly tragic part for the idea hunter is that once the novelty fades, their momentum just dies.
The report explicitly mentions projects being left in a conceptual or half-finished state. That's the graveyard we all have in our closets, isn't it?
It creates a really painful cycle for them. Much ideation, little execution.
Wow. Much ideation, little execution.
And without clear prioritization, the exploration itself, which is supposed to be their greatest source of joy, becomes a source of immense pressure.
They feel buried under their own potential.
Exactly. They look around and see 100 started things and 0 finished things, and that leads to a lot of internal friction and shame.
So if you are listening to this and you're an idea hunter, and this is probably more important if you manage an idea hunter, you need to recognize this cycle. You don't let them start 10 things. You let them start 1, and you pair them with someone who can actually finish it.
Right, which segues perfectly into their social connections. The report describes their social dynamic as ignition-oriented.
Ignition-oriented. I like the fire analogies we've got going today.
Think of them as the flint and steel in a group. They kindle the atmosphere. They're the ones who walk into a dull networking event or a really quiet brainstorming meeting, and suddenly everyone is talking and buzzing. They bring that high activation energy into the room.
But the report also has a warning here. It notes, they kindle the atmosphere, but do not necessarily tend the flame.
That's the crucial distinction. They're interaction catalysts. They're questioners, connectors. They create these massive conversational leaps that stimulate everyone else's creativity.
Right.
But in a long-term collaboration, that can be really tricky.
Oh, I can imagine. If I'm a structural planner type and I'm trying to finish a detailed quarterly report and my idea hunter colleague comes in and says, hey, what if we change the entire premise of what we do?
Yeah.
I don't feel inspired by that. I feel like screaming.
Exactly. The expert advice from the ME80 report here is that teams can feel unsettled by the idea hunter's frequent directional shifts. They can actually be exhausting to work with if you don't understand their rhythm.
So what's the fix?
They need teammates who can stabilize the rhythm and handle the details. The idea hunter starts the fire. Someone else needs to put the logs on so it burns all night.
It sounds like the classic sprinter versus marathon runner dynamic. The idea hunter is built for the 100-meter dash of ideas. Asking them to run the marathon of execution is just mechanically against their nature.
Precisely. And smart companies know this, which brings us to their business value.
Yeah.
Why do companies actually need FFFNs?
The report highlights 2 things, trend acuity and creative capture.
Right.
Now, trend acuity sounds like a bit of a corporate buzzword. Let's break that down.
It basically means they have eyes in the back of their head for the market. They can look at noise, raw market data, random customer feedback, weird cultural shifts, and they identify latent opportunities.
Before they become obvious to everyone else.
Yes. They translate not yet formed thinking into discussable concepts and models.
That is incredibly valuable because a lot of people can analyze what has happened, right? Like, sales were down last month because of X. The idea hunter is trying to articulate what is about to happen. Sales will be down next month unless we jump on this new signal right now.
And when sudden change happens, like a sudden market crash or a disruptive new competitor, the idea hunter is the one improvising adjustments to keep the whole team moving forward.
They don't freeze.
No, they pivot. They're the absolute masters of the pivot.
So, given all this, the restless curiosity, the rapid speed, the trend spotting, the absolute hatred of boredom, where do they actually belong in the workforce? Because I'm guessing corporate accountant or routine safety inspector isn't on the list.
Definitely not. The report lists some highly recommended professional fields.
Let's run through them. First up, innovation planning and content and media.
That makes perfect sense. Content is a beast that always needs to be fed. You need new ideas every single day. It's fast-paced and entirely novelty-driven.
Next on the list, product concepts and experience design.
And specifically, early-stage conception. The report mentions relying on user intuition. So this isn't the person writing the back-end database code.
Right.
This is the person dreaming up how the user feels when they first open the app. The vision.
Okay, then there is trend research and cross-disciplinary integration.
Cross-disciplinary. That goes right back to your puzzle analogy earlier. Taking insights from biology and applying them to urban architecture, connecting the disparate information silos.
And finally, education, curation, and creative industries, which is an interesting one.
It is, but it fits their ignition-oriented social style perfectly. It's about awakening potential in others.
Ah!
They love showing people a new way to see the world. Whether that's a teacher who goes totally off syllabus to blow the students' minds, or a museum curator who puts two wildly contrasting pieces next to each other to force a reaction. They want to wake people up.
It really paints a picture of someone who just needs to be at the edge of what's known. They aren't the caretakers of the status quo. They are the scouts.
The scouts. And that leads beautifully to the conclusion of the report. The expert synthesis is that the FFFN is not a steward of stability. They are the eyes that find the next possible path through the system.
So if you try to force them into a role of pure maintenance and repetition,
you kill their spirit. And frankly, as a business, you waste their salary.
We always like to end with the gold sentence from the source material. It's the one line that really sums up the entire deep dive. What's the final takeaway here for the idea hunter?
It's a beautiful summary. Here it is.
Yeah.
When exploration is honored as value and inspiration can be rapidly tested and refined, the idea hunter continues to radiate.
Wow. When exploration is honored as value, that is a powerful takeaway. If you're an idea hunter listening to this, you need to be in a place that values the hunt itself, not just the kill. You need permission to explore.
And you need an ecosystem that allows for rapid testing. If you have to wait 6 months to get approval to test an idea, your spark will just die. You need to be able to iterate fast.
This has been such a cool look into the FFFN mind. It makes me want to look at my own team and spot the idea hunters. Or, maybe realize I've been annoying my team by being one.
Awareness is the first step, right?
Absolutely. Now, for the people listening who are thinking, wait, is this me or is this my boss? Oh, let's tell them where all this amazing insight actually comes from. As we mentioned, this deep dive was based on the Max Energy ME80 Personality Assessment Report.
Yes. If you want to learn more, or maybe find out your own exact energy profile, you can visit their official website at www.maxenergylife.com.
And for those of you who basically live on social media, you can also search for them on Facebook. You can search for Max Energy, and you might see the official tag Max Energy Juneng Liang Rengeshu. Or you can search Met Energy Negligenge Rengegeshingle Yuzu.
It's definitely worth a look if you're into understanding human potential and these really complex energy dynamics we've been talking about.
Before we sign off, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over. We talked about how the idea hunter needs constant new inputs, new signals, new changes to fuel their curiosity engine.
Right.
What happens to an idea hunter if they are forced into an environment with absolutely zero new inputs for an extended period? Does that high activation energy just vanish? Or does it turn inward and start dismantling their own mental structures just to see how they work?
Ooh, that is a fascinating question.
Something to explore on your own. Well, that's all we have for today's deep dive. To all our listeners, and especially the idea hunters out there, keep scanning the horizon. But maybe, just maybe, try to finish one project before you start the next 3.
Baby steps.
See you next time.